Welcome to Construct a Critique. This is our bonus chapter, at least one of two bonus chapters. We also have post-production, which is going to be awesome. We're going to walk you through all the images as well. For this chapter, we requested you guys, the community on SR Lounge Photography Community on Facebook, as well as our premium members community for premium users, to submit images for critique. Now, we couldn't include everybody, but we got a good number of you in here. So we're gonna walk through your guys' photographs. I'm gonna give you guys some critique and some ideas using everything that we've kind of talked about so far in the course. Let's go ahead and start with Zach Ashcraft of Zach Ashcraft Photography. I'm saying that slowly because I had a little slip just a minute ago, which was not good. Okay, so Zach, first image, groomsman photograph, looks actually pretty solid. What I'm gonna do is jump in the develop module just so I have my little pen tool handy. And let's close up the left side because we don't really need to do any developing. What I'm gonna do is grab this guy. We're gonna grab our red pen. Why? Because I like red pens. It makes me feel like all teacher-like with my circling. Okay, so the issues that I see, well, first of all, this is a great photograph at 1/400 f1.8 ISO 100 on a 50 millimeter. There's just a couple outstanding things that I'm noticing. So I would say probably number one is one of the dudes is looking away from the other ones. So these guys, all four of the five groomsmen, are looking into the camera except for this guy right here, and he's looking away. So I'm gonna say this guy's looking away. Number two, I don't necessarily like shooting the group at such a shallow aperture and making them blur out in the background without having them look into each other. Meaning, when people are blurred in the background, it's awkward that they're looking into the camera. So what I would do is have the groomsmen look at each other, have them converse and dialogue with each other versus looking into the camera, and that'll create a much more natural look. The groom, great, it's about him. Have him look into the camera, that's totally fine. But them looking into the camera and being blurred out is something that I would typically avoid. Also, there's a few things on the wall, including their own shadows. So I see like shadows on the wall, like around here. I see this like little thing on the wall that can be removed. I see something over here along with a shadow. So the shadows on the walls like are a little bit awkward, and I can kind of see them all over the place in the image. And so it makes me feel like there's little bits of, I don't know, darkening things on the actual background, which is a very nice kind of clean background to begin with. I'm also not a big fan of how the fountain is blending in with his hair. You guys will notice that if you zoom in a little bit to this, it's very difficult to see the difference between where his hair stops and where that fountain thing begins. So there's a couple options for this. Let me go ahead and remove that little mask right there. There's a couple options for this. One is you frame them in a way where his head is not over that background. Two, if you wanted to use a light, you could place a light behind him just to kick a little bit of light onto him. Doesn't have to be a lot. Just enough that it creates a separation between him and the background. But that's the other thing that I was kind of noticing, is that he kind of blends in a little bit too much. What I would probably do with this shot is just pull everybody over a little bit more, have the groomsmen clump up together, have them focus on each other, and make this a shot about the groom of him looking at the camera, the groomsmen looking at each other, keeping the background a little more clean. And you can even push them back towards the background so that the fountain is out of the way and it's not in the shot at all. So that'd be what I would go with that image. Let's go to the next one. This image also by Zach. This one, I love this. I mean, there is not too much I would change about this image. I find that his head is cropped a little bit tight against the left side of the frame. So right here, the head kind of crops off, and that's a little bit odd. My red pen is darkening. I think it should brighten. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so everything else is totally fine. I like the look. I like the expression on his face. I like the anticipation. I love this little kind of shaft of light that's illuminating him, and I love the reflection that's caught on the side of the wall. I think the only thing that I would do here is just open up the frame a tiny bit so you can see the other side of him as well, while also maybe darkening down this bottom edge of the frame. But this is a really great capture, and I really like this. Everything else about it is much good. Much good. All right, next image from Tarek Brown. All right, Tarek, this is a great image. I dig this. So what do I love about it? Well, I love the expression. The expression of, I assume that this is the groom, and his expression is just priceless. It's a great toast. It's a great moment. Really solid capture. I like that you can see kind of the bottle in the corner too. Oh, and this is Tarek B for Gina Francesca, so probably second shooting for Gina, so that's cool. Second shooting is, by the way, one of the best ways to get experience and to learn from other photographers. The only thing, there's a couple things here that bug me. One is this guy. So this shape going directly over the groom's head is awkward. Now I know this is like very much an in the moment type photograph. And by the way, let me just, what is up with my pen? That's not a very red pen. All right, that's not even better. All right, well, let's leave it whatever it is. So I would try and compose the frame just a little bit to the left more so that his forehead is not blocked out by this glass. The only other thing that kind of gets me a little bit is the blue on this champagne bottle is very distracting because it's very strong compared to every other color in the frame. So while I like the champagne glass being in it, I might desaturate that blue so it's not drawing so much attention. You also got this dude with his iPhone kind of being held up in the background. It kind of creates an interesting look to it, but the light going off is a little bit of a signal drawer. But either way, that draws a little bit of attention, but there's not too much you can do because he's taking a picture with his iPhone, so that's fine. But moving to the left, so if we were to take the whole frame to the left a little bit, this glass would be framed off to the right more. So his head would be over here, and hopefully what that would also allow us to do is get this guy from behind him more into this space right here while having a clear view of the groom's face and so forth. But the moment in and of itself is great. It's just a matter of snapping into position a little bit quicker so you can nail that shot and get everything kind of on point. As is though, it's a great shot. I really dig it. So let's go to Steve Irwin, and Tarek is, I believe, one of my workshop students actually, and so is Steve. So let's check out this image by Steve. I hold you guys to a higher standard because you guys have been there in person. So that means I'm about to drop some serious verbal bashing. I'm just kidding. I'll be nice. Don't worry. Steve, I dig this shot. This was taken at on a 35mm lens, 1/500 of a second, f2.8, ISO 200. And it's kind of just a nice moment of what looks to be the groom getting his boutonniere pinned. And as that, I really don't have too much to say in terms of critique. I like the fact that this like kind of patterned, it looks like a fence of some sort. It's nice and blurred out, so great job shooting at a wide aperture. It's nice and blurred out, and I like the way that it's kind of behind their faces, which is where we should be focusing anyway, because it kind of draws lines across, and it's a nice compositional element to kind of keep us focused in on what we're doing. The only things that I would probably change is mostly on the post-production side. There is a little spot of light hitting his forehead right here, which I understand that if this is a completely journalistic moment, then there's not much you can do about that. But if you do have a chance to set it up, I might move him a little bit so he's not, you know, directly, that light looks like it's creating a bald spot almost on his head. So that's just a tiny, tiny issue, but other than that, it looks really great. What I would probably do with this though is a little bit of extra warmth in post and grabbing that radial filter and just kind of burning down the edges of the frame a little bit more and pulling the attention into what's going on. So that really small, subtle adjustment can really kind of polish an image a little bit by just adding a little bit of warmth, even a little bit of split toning, and then burning in to where you want the viewer to focus. Great job, Steve. Okay, Keith White of Keith White Photography. Okay, so this is what looks to be a groom or groomsman portrait, and there's a couple issues that I'm noticing. One is composition. We've left a lot of room above his head. So let's flip this to our red pen again. Red pen, there we go. So there's quite a bit of room left in the frame, and I'd probably trim this down where his head is actually like probably right here, as opposed to leaving that much space. It looks a little bit like a mistake right there. Also, the way that it's cropped straight across the chest feels a little bit awkward. Like we should be going down a little bit more. We should be either like kind of going for something a little bit tighter. Like for example, this would probably be the crop that I would set to, is pulling it up on both of these and going in for something like that with maybe even pulling it down a little bit more in the frame. So something a little bit tighter makes a little bit more sense in terms of the crop. Right here, it's a bit wide with a bit too much empty space. I love the usage though. This was shot at f2.8 ISO 100, 1/200 a second on a 7200 at 100mm, and I love the way the background just is crushed out of focus. The other things that I would do though is you're using direct flash, and direct flash is nice in certain ways because it does create a little catch light in the eyes, but it also does other things which aren't so nice, which is like kind of creates a harder edge light on the face that kind of reveals shadow, it reveals oil and that kind of stuff. We're also creating shadows like right along the suit. So you can actually see here where these shadows are dropping in. We're creating pretty strong shadows across the suit surface. And the good thing is that you didn't leave the direct flash too strong. So it's not so powerful that it's overpowering everything scene. It's still very balanced nicely. It's just, I don't know if I would use that as my tool for this type of a shot. I would either go natural light or I'd use a reflector if I want to kick in a little bit of extra light. Like you can put in a reflector to get that same, even better catch lights, to be honest, because it's going to be a bigger light source. So silver reflector, when working in the shade, will be fantastic. It'll give you that kick of light. It'll even out the shadows. It'll do everything without adding in these direct flash shadows. So that's really the main thing that I would look to kind of improving. I love the color of this image though. The color and the production looks really, really nice. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. Okay, so next we have Catherine Lacey of Catherine Lacey Photography. Catherine's one of our awesome community members, always participating. So I dig this shot, Catherine. This is 1/320th of a second f1.4 ISO 250 on a 35mm 1.4 lens. Looks like the Canon 1.4L. So this shot is great. I mean, I have no issues with the shot. It's a nice little detail shot of the moment of him getting help putting on the cufflinks. The next shot, however, this shot you'll notice is twisted a little bit, which I kind of like. And by the way, post-production wise, I kind of don't really like this faded vintage look particularly, but I would probably stick with a black and white, but that's really much a personal preference thing, not an objective. It's very subjective. So I would say skip that. Do what you like, Catherine. This shot though, on the post-production side, is a little bit too greenish, oranges for my taste as well. But the main thing going on here is the camera twist is extreme. Okay, so if like I just feel like the world is kind of falling over because this is the primary line driving through the frame and it's so visible. So it feels like we're twisting too much. And I know this Dutch angle thing, it's one of those things that oftentimes we do because we think it's making an image more creative. If it's done too extreme, it'll make it feel like the world is falling over and we kind of end up cropping off his head and all that kind of stuff. That's the main issue here. Here, you can notice if you look at some of the lines in the background, there is a subtle directional kind of twist to it, but the background is so blurred and it's so not noticeable that it doesn't become a big piece of the image. Whereas here, because we see so much of the image, that twist becomes very, very distracting. So that's the main thing there. Let's go ahead here. This is a nice little candid moment. I like that. As far as a candid photograph, I think it's good. I think I would look to eliminate certain things if possible. So for example, if you pull the frame down to right about here, we're no longer seeing like kind of the ceiling, which is kind of boring. We're not seeing that little fan. We're not seeing as much of this light over here, which is really nothing to be, proud of. We also see more of the bodies, because right now what's happening is they're actually cropping when they're getting wider in the frame. So this will make them feel larger than they actually are. Other than that though, it's a really nice moment. I like the fact that he's smiling too. I would just pull the attention over more. So pull the frame down, pull the attention over more, get him more in the shot so he's not kind of an afterthought. And mainly that's kind of the compositional thing that I would refer to as far as this little moment in time. Also, I'll show you what I mean with the post-production. I feel like for these types of images, a nice black and white would just be so solid, like it would really, so I just put on a vivid black and white for this. And to me that feels like a much more polished image because it allows me to focus on the emotion and it really takes away the not so good color in the scene that's rather distracting. So I would look for these kind of scenes where you don't really have that great a color, look for those black and whites because you'll find that, like for example, this one too, if we were to black and white this, I think it'll really be the better option. So even with, you can either go vivid or standard, either way, and then just brighten up a little bit. But you end up with a really powerful image and devoid of all the color distraction. Okay, let's keep going. This is great. Again, a little bit tight and awkward with the cropping, right? So here the cropping, once again, he's kind of extending out on both sides, and so it's gonna make him feel wider than he actually is. So extend a little bit wider, like don't crop so tight, because the other issue you're gonna have as you crop this tight is when you go to print stuff, you're cropping off even more of these people in the background as you print at different formats. So cropping this tight really doesn't leave you with a whole ton of room. Also, it looks like this is a shot where you were able to set them up. So what I would say is make sure that we can actually see his face. Make sure that he's not doing this weird thing with his lips. I like that all the other guys are kind of focused in on what's going on right here, and I love the expressions that's going on. But take that moment to kind of fix the crop, get their positions right so we can see everybody, and then go for the shot. This, nice. For this, the crop on this shoulder line, it works for me. I kind of like this kind of stuff where you like these unique crops that cut off parts of the body. And because we don't see the other side of the body, at any point on the left side of the frame, it's not necessarily going to feel like he's getting bigger as he exits the frame. At the same time, we're not really helping slim him out either, because we're not showing the other side of the body either. So it kind of has this in between. But I like these kind of things. This looks nice. It's a nice portrait, good framing. 1/160th of a second, f2, ISO 200, and 85 millimeters was the settings for it. So really nice. And as an idea for you too, the only issues that I have here is the chin is very much undefined because of the way that he is looking directly into the camera. So I like the fact that he's laughing, but if you turn his face slightly towards this side, like angle his chin slightly towards that side and get him to laugh, he's not only going to be looking into the light, which will be really great, you're also going to have a much more defined jawline on him, which will be very flattering. Right here, it kind of looks like his neck and jaw blend into each other. Good. Okay, so this is that exact issue again, widening out, and we're cropping as he's getting wider as he's exiting the frame. And you can see how it makes him look and feel bigger than he actually is, okay? But other than that, you know, it's fine. I would again work on that jawline so you can get a little more defined jawline, turn his chin towards the light a little bit more, get a little more definition in the jawline. I like the pose. Everything else is good though. It's a decent portrait. I would just mainly say that we didn't do him really any favors with that crop, and kind of adjust and work the angle a little bit, work the chin, trying to get him a little bit more defined. Have him take a breath in too. Like I feel like his chest is diminished and his tummy is kind of expanded in this shot. So try and get it to be a little more flattering. Yeah, this is the same exact issue. I'm going to say the same issue of us seeing towards the bottom of the frame, him like widening out at the bottom of the frame. We do have, you'll notice that comparing this shot to this shot, look at how much more defined the jawline is by simply moving the chin to the right a little bit. A much better jawline, looks fantastic. I don't mind that he's looking off camera, but I kind of like with these types of shots, I'll have him look down to the ground, so it's a little more contemplative versus like the old school kind of longing look where they're looking off towards the unforeseen future type thing. But that's really more of a subjective thing too. I love the rim light though and the positioning of everything. It's just mainly the crop that I would fix in this, and possibly having him look down as opposed to looking out. Great job, Catherine. Those are really nice. Let's go to Seek and Dread. Let's take a look at this. So this is 1/90th of a second at 5.6 ISO 400 on an HCD 35-90. I wonder if this is a video still actually, 70 millimeters. So I like this as a low-key kind of dramatic shot. Now obviously there's certain things going on here which kind of work into the effect. One is we have a nice Rembrandt light on this side of the eye that looks great. We notice that it's black on black, so you do have a little bit of that blending in the background where like the hair and everything blends in. But that's kind of the look with this type of a low-key photograph, and so I'm okay with it here because it kind of works along with it. I do see some lines in the background that I'd probably nix in post, like these lines up here. I'd probably remove those because I'm noticing them and I don't think they really do anything for the image. But the pose is good. The looking off thing, again, I prefer the looking down towards the shoulder, down towards the ground, as opposed to looking out. But either way, that's just a personal thing. I like that the nose is framed within the face. Everything else is good. Good jawline. It's good. Solid. This one's a little bit odd. The background to me bugs me a little bit. This is 1/100th of a second f4 ISO 1250, 50 millimeters, 1.4. I don't know why we need to see as much of that background. I would open up the aperture honestly to kind of nix the background a little bit more, because the background has a lot of these like shapes and shadows and stuff that draws a lot of attention for me. Like this, like weirdness going on back here. Sometimes if it's a suede background, it's nice to run your hand over the suede to get all the fabric going in the same direction, so you don't get those light and dark areas of the suede. The other thing I would notice is like the hands are mirroring. His hands are doing the exact same thing on both sides, and therefore this will feel like a pose. So it feels posed as opposed to being a little bit more natural because both hands are doing the exact same thing. Also, I'm not a huge fan of the crop, so we're cropping straight across the wrist and closing off this side, and it's just a little bit too tight for my taste. Like I would either take this into like a 3/4 bust shot where it's like up higher. I would take it up to this, or I would expand this out so you can see more of his torso. It just doesn't make sense cropping across the wrist like that. As far as the lighting goes, it's a little bit of a hard light, but that's fine. It has a masculine look to it. The light direction is good. The shadow dropping under is kind of set up like almost like a butterfly directional light, probably done with like an LED or something. I kind of like that. It looks really great, and I don't have any issue with that. But those are the main things in terms of pose and crop that I would deal with. Okay, this shot. What I would do too is notice on this shot, okay, there's an issue with, like, I can tell pretty clearly that he's a bit more, like, this shot makes him look like he's missing a little bit more hair than this shot. And the reason is the positioning of the face. So here his nose is going to the right. Here nose is going to the right as well, but chin is down, and we don't see the right side of the head basically. Okay, here we see it very clearly. So I might turn his chin a little bit more so that we kind of close that off from the camera, and that'll reveal the other side of the hair, which will be great. Hand-wise, I'd probably do the same thing again of, like, I don't mind his hands in this shot. They're both at rest. They are in the same position, but they're at rest. Eye angle, again, I'd probably have him looking kind of down as opposed to looking straight out. It makes me wonder what he's looking at when he's looking straight out. If his eye angle is going kind of down, it feels like he's just in a moment of contemplation and thinking. There's also a few things here, like this lampshade is not straightened out. I would straighten out the lampshade and then remove things like the phone from the background. You don't need this. These are things that you probably have to remove in post if you want to nix those guys, but I would nix those from the image. And if you can, like, tidy up the cable so they're not in the shot. These are all like really small things, like getting rid of things that appear from underneath the bed, and those types of things are helpful. The other thing is light direction in the shot is going from left to right, straight across the face. So we're split lighting the face. So literally one side of the face is in shadow, one side is in highlight, which is a very dramatic look. And I'm glad you didn't make the exposure too extreme. But at the same time, like, I almost feel like if you're going to have him look to this direction, a more natural thing to do would be to light from this side that he's looking for, or looking towards. So just a couple ideas on that. This one, it looks like you actually did that. This is a very small image, but you can actually see, I wonder if we can expand the size of this a little bit. Maybe zoom. If we fill 1:1, 3:1, there we go. Let's go 3:1. Okay, so looking off to the left, you're lighting from that side, and it looks much, much better. It looks more natural. Look at how we don't see that same spot that we saw on this side, like the little patch in the hair right there. We don't see that now, and that's great. That's exactly what you want. This is a much more flattering look. The hands are good. You can see again that that lamp shade is off in position, and we have the phone and that kind of stuff, which could be nixed from the shot. But this is much, much better. Again, eyes, but that's just a kind of preference thing. Let's go ahead and zoom back out. Okay, so same things that I'm noticing. Mirroring. Both hands are doing the exact same thing. They're duplicating each other. I want to avoid that. Both legs, he doesn't have his weight shifted onto either. He's standing flat-footed, which is okay, but again, I like it to be a little more comfortable, a little bit more of a kind of a balanced stance without going even weight on each foot. There's a little bit of stuff that I'm noticing at the bottom of the frame here. I'm not sure what this is, but it's not a huge deal. The only other thing is that it'd be cool if he was looking to the right more, where I could see a little bit of his profile. That'd be a little bit nice. If he's actually opening up the curtains, put one hand on the curtain, like give his hands a sense of purpose, because right now I feel like he's pushing out the curtains with the backs of his hands, which is kind of awkward. I don't know why you would necessarily do that. The other thing is, this is once again an example of an image that would look fantastic in black and white. There's not a whole lot of great color here to keep in the image, and we can focus on the light and kind of the shapes as it's a black and white image. Let's keep going. Same thing with that mirroring issue, same thing with the bald spot on the head. So don't mirror with the hands. Place one hand doing one thing, the other hand doing another. Nice crop at the edge where his legs are tapering in, as opposed to like going too tight with this. But that's a good exposure, good Rembrandt light, nice dramatic kind of shot. And I think we kind of covered the bases here. This is a nice symmetrical shot. I'm not a huge fan of this post-production, to be honest. I feel like this vintage-y style of post-production is going to be out of date, in not very long. And I'd rather stick with something nice color, good black and white. I think color would actually look pretty nice in this scene because it'd have a good warmth to it. I would again remove these objects from the light stands. They don't need to be up there. And then I like the fact that his hands are actually doing something different in the shot. He's looking out to that side. Again, try it. Just try having him look down. I think you might like the way that it looks when they're kind of looking in a more contemplative pose. So otherwise though, good job, Seek and Dread. By the way, seeing some really cool stuff from Seek and Dread being posted to the community group. Pretty awesome. This one is from Travis Volkman of Travis Volkman Photography. And I kind of dig this. This is a cool little image here. Now, there's a few issues that I'm noticing. One is that this is a very high key image with the exception of this. Everything in this section is very dark. Everything else in the other 80% of the image is very bright. So what I probably would have done is crop this out. So like in camera, you could take the camera angle to the left more, so you just fill the left side of the frame with wall, or even if you had to in post or do whatever, I would nix this or just whiten out that left side, because it kind of just feels weird to me. It feels weird why that one spot is visible. It's not enough of the composition to make me feel like it was something intentional. The other issues that I have is like, the shot could be kept in color, but as is in color, there's a lot of pink that's showing up on his skin. So I would probably go back and go for a more neutral kind of tone where you pull out some of the pinks, maybe get a little bit more of the greens into his skin. It might even involve reducing some of the saturation, like pulling out some of the reds, some of the oranges, some of the yellows, and boosting a little bit of the green, like trying to get to a more neutral skin tone for him, or simply going to black and white. Like black and white in an image like this will look fantastic because it's a very clean, very simple image. But as it was left, you can see like if I reset this, there's a lot of pink and magenta in the skin tone, which can look a little bit odd. So that's the main thing for me. Otherwise, pose is pretty good. I dig that. I don't like, again, we're cropping too close. Like we're not picking. We're in between right now. We're going right at the waist instead of going either at the thighs or either up higher. We need to go pick one or the other, not go in between where they're widening out, because it makes them look a little bit larger in the frame. Positioning of the head is good. The jawline looks pretty decent. He has his beard to kind of help chisel out the jawline as well. I would make small adjustments just to get rid of this little shadow underneath the jaw. It kind of reveals a little bit of a double chin type thing going on right there. But other than that, really nice. Good job, Travis. Okay, James St. Gray of Techni Art Studios submitted this shot, and I like this shot. This is very much in the moment kind of journalistic shot. I like the use of that foreground. It feels like you're kind of just peeking in and capturing that kind of a moment. I love the fact that you turned this to a black and white, because there probably wasn't a lot of good color going on in the scene anyway. If this is 100% journalistic, as in you have no option to do anything here in terms of controlling pose or position or lighting and everything, then so be it. I know there's plenty of those types of situations, but there's also plenty of situations where you can ask them where you want them to stand when they get ready, which gives them a little bit of a better background. The issue that I'm noticing here is that this looks like Mom behind, and Mom is so much brighter in the background than both the gentlemen that are actually the subjects of the image. So if you could position them in a place where they're the brightest and the background kind of falls away, or at least take Mom out of the shot or place her in a way, like bring her forward so she doesn't have that light brightening her up as much, I think that would look better. That's my main issue here is that she's so far back there and in this bright spot that it looks like there's a ghost behind the two gentlemen. So what I would probably do is ask Mom to step forward to where what looks like Dad is. And if she stepped forward into this spot, she'll probably be in the shadows too. She'll also be a bigger part of the image, and it'll kind of be a win-win. She's not gonna be hidden behind the groom. She'll be kind of a part of it next to Dad or whoever that is, and it'll work much, much better. Other thing too is look at this composition, this image from a wide angle. Remember to step back at the entire scene and shoot this through a doorway. Shoot it through an entire scene where you can shoot wide and see where this is actually taking place. So this is one of those great moments that you can get that wide, dramatic kind of shot showing them getting ready in this small little area and see the entire scene around them. So, okay. Julian. Again, if this is a purely photojournalistic moment and you're not trying to make any adjustments, then so be it. But if we have a choice, there's a couple things that I would do differently. One, this area of the frame looks like it's completely blown out. And so good job in making sure it's a black and white, because that actually salvages the image. It's deliverable, it's usable. But if there was anything that could be done to make it so that this wouldn't be so bright, I would opt for that. In fact, if you place a flash or you place some sort of light up in this corner to kind of brighten him up a little bit, even just a little bit, while pulling down the background, I think that would be a better option and bring a lot of attention to him. I love the mood and the feel that this image has. It feels very much in the moment, him buttoning up. For an in-the-moment photograph, I like that. Let's see the settings-wise. It doesn't include settings, so we can't really look at that. Chin is angled down just a little bit too much for my opinion, but again, if this is pure photojournalism, you don't want to get involved in it, so be it. If I have a little bit of a adjustment, I would say just go chin up a tiny, tiny bit so that his nose isn't blocking his own lips. And then probably show like what it is that he's doing as well. So if he's adjusting buttons with his hands, it'd be great to show that. And the reason why I say that is because looking at this image, you don't really have a context for what he's doing. Meaning, this could be in the bathroom with him peeing. This could be him buttoning up his shirt. This could be him, you know, messing around with a watch. This could be him doing anything. And so we don't really know what is actually going on with the shot. So a wider view would kind of help that, or bring the chin up a little bit so it doesn't look like he's looking straight down would help that as well. But I like the close nature of it. I just might bring his hands up, so maybe he's buttoning up the top collar, the top button with his fingers, with his hand nose up just a little bit. And that would be great. I love the way that the background is falling to that bokeh. Good capture though, Julie. Okay, this is from Marius Tudor Photocicro. Let's go ahead and jump into that. I love this as a dramatic shot. Again, the goal of when we photograph men, we want to make them look masculine. We want to make them look kind of like they have expanded presence and dominating, and kind of just want to make them look manly. Photograph women, we make them look soft. We make them look feminine. That's the general goal in both these cases. This shot, the shadows make it look manly. And I love the artistic use of shadow in this, because what we have here is his full shadow being cast onto the wall, a spot of light being put on him. You'll notice that framing wise, you have this. You have a spot of light here, an area of shadow, which is where he's placed in the frame, and a spot of light and spot of light. This type of stuff, I'm hoping that Marius did this intentionally, because that's exactly what you should do. You place him in the darker area of this frame because he's brighter. He would be lost if he was placed over this spot of the frame. Whereas here he stands out really nicely in the shot. We get great dramatic shadows. It's a very beautiful use of natural light, which is what this appears to be, that light coming through the window. I love this. And as a black and white, I really dig that too. Small changes. I mean, this looks like a posed photograph. I love the fact that the hands aren't doing the same thing. Tiny adjustments that I would make is angle the chin a little bit up and a little bit over more. So that way you get a little more of that Rembrandt light into the eye on this side, so you get a little more of that triangular shape if you push his nose just a little bit more towards this side. And we would hopefully be able to chisel out his jawline just a little bit more by bringing the chin up and bring it a little bit over. So there's small adjustments that could possibly make this shot better if it's one of those moments that you are directing and guiding. Okay, otherwise though, I really like everything about the shot. I don't mind the fact that he's looking out of the frame here, mainly because we have this shadow on this side. So it's kind of a cool, like, artistic balancing shot where we have the shadow on this side, and yeah, he's looking out, but there's a lot of interest keep me coming back into the frame. So it's kind of like the eyes lead me out of this side, but then the shadow leads me back in on the left side, and that creates a sense of balance for me. Okay, last but not least, we have some of our second and third shooters in training. So we're not going to go over all those images, but these are from Lynn and Jersa's second and third shooters and our team in training. And I want to go through some of these images just quickly to kind of talk about what I would look out for. So this is a pretty straightforward shot right here. There's not too much going on. It's a good detail shot, good in action, kind of adjusting the watch. This I'm not a huge fan of. And the reason why is it's cropped really tightly on all sides. So we basically have no idea, and this is Daniel Arvala, by the way, this was taken, let's see, 1/160 of a second, f2.8, ISO 1600, 2470. So yeah, it's a little bit too tight. We don't know who's doing what in this shot. If we cropped at the bridge of the nose, we might see enough of the face to actually be able to tell who it is. But here, cropped at the chin, we're not really seeing that. Also, we've used so much light in this scenario that everything is just a little bit too bright for my taste. I like to have a little bit more shadow in the shot. Same thing here. We're opening up the shadows so much that it all feels like it's a little bit washed out. I'd rather incorporate more shadow. You get that manly look when you have shadow in your shot. If you eliminate shadows, you get a softer look, which is not necessarily the kind of look that I like for my guys. The other thing going on here is we've got one dude hidden right behind him. So take a moment and just say, hey, look, step to the left side so you're not hidden behind the groom, and then cue the action. Okay, I would also make sure that he's not blocking the, just pull him forward a little bit so he's not causing this curtain to kind of wrinkle up like that. All right, decent, same thing though. I would love to see a little bit of shadow going on in the image, a little bit more so than I'm seeing right now. Obviously there's another camera here, which we'd have to crop out. Hopefully there's another image of this where his expression's a little bit better, where this camera's not in the shot, and so forth. So look at this. This is a great example of a shot where we're diminishing the groom instead of expanding. Instead of making him appear larger than life, we're shrinking him almost. What causes that is the shoulders are in. You can actually see it because you can see the wrinkle in the back of his jacket. His shoulders are like tucked in as his hands come across the front. This diminishes, as opposed to everything that we taught you all with posing in this, is opening up the shoulders, opening up the chest, expanding, and making them have a larger presence. This, we have a diminished presence. There's also a wrinkle right here that makes it look like he has a belly. All in all, if I put a groom in this kind of a position and it's just not looking flattering, I'm just gonna say, hey, you know what? I like it better when you stand. Let's just do a standing shot. Have him stand up. It just doesn't look good. He's looking diminished in the shot. I also don't like the way that his feet are blocked by these two squares. Just move them out of the frame and take them out, you know, or at least push them out of the sides a little bit more. I feel like this could have been a really cool shot if time was taken to kind of open him up, give him more presence. It's okay to do sitting shots, but you have to give them presence, open their chest, expand them out, and give that light some direction, man. We got to get some direction on here. By the way, you'll notice that I'm very hard on our own shooters. Give that light direction so we have shadows. We need shadows. We have flat light on him, and we don't get a manly look with flat lighting. So get more direction on the light, even use potentially a grid. And then what I would do with the final shot here, there's not good color to keep here, so go to black and white. And what I would do is go to something unique like a 2:1 crop. And this is what I'd be aiming for, is a nice shot of him where he's lit up. We have a good crop. He's the brightest point in the frame rather than the sofa and everything. And he dominates the frame. Here you can see his presence is so much better. And this looks like a little goofy shot. The guys probably wanted to reenact something that the girls would do, so they probably asked Daniel to do that. Or this is Joe Anthony. Same groom. So yeah, they're probably reenacting something that the girls would do. Let's keep going. This is an Alec shot. This is a great detail shot. I love this, putting on the cufflink, really nice. The color's a little bit off for me. The hands are just a little bit too saturated. Again, I think black and white or a desaturated hand would be a little bit helpful here. This room, it looks like this room was just super saturated too because the room had orange walls. So for a getting ready shot, you know, again, if we don't have any options in terms of backgrounds, sometimes you're just stuck in these kind of rooms, and that's fine. This is a good angle, good composition. What they're doing is totally fine. The way that he's looking, it's a little bit odd. I might kind of encourage a little more natural interaction. As a portrait, this is good. Again, the crop is awkward to me. We should have either cropped up higher or we should have cropped down lower, but not right across the waist like that where he's expanding. It's a very common mistake, guys. Everybody does this. This is a great example of a present shot sitting where it looks good. So again, we compare this to this, and you'll know exactly what I'm saying. Let's bring those two up. Look at these two shots. Here, it feels like everything is diminished, like the suit is pulling in, like the wrinkle in the back, the tummy that's poking out. Here, he's sitting up tall, his shoulders are out more, he's crossing a leg. There's more dominance and presence, and the light here is fantastic because Alec has positioned him right here to use the natural light coming through in a Rembrandt format. Now again, the green in the background, the kind of all this stuff makes it so I would have opted for black and white with this shot. And I think it would look really great as a black and white. We focus on the light coming through, the shapes, everything else kind of falls away, and that's where I would go. Oh, let's go to the next image. Looks like Alec was probably stuck in this room for quite a while. I like the placement here. You can tell that the spacing was done evenly with the bars in the background, which is nice. Flash was added so you could expose and see the background, which is good. Would have been interesting to see what it would look like if you just left it all blown out. Like, I think you might be able to get a really cool look. Let's go ahead and expand the view of this too. Again, I do kind of like the black and white better here. Like, the color feels messy to me in this shot. I like the black and white a little bit better. This is that goofy shot that all of our groomsmen love to do. Okay, this is from Nicole. Groom getting ready. Not bad as a journalistic shot. I would say shoot a couple more so you have a good expression on his side. Trying to crop so a hand is coming out of the frame on this side. Just kind of watch the edges and everything like that. But background-wise, I'm not in love with the background selection here. If there was something better, I would have opted for that. This is a good close-up detail shot. Again, seeing the chin up to the nose would be nice just to get an idea of who it is that's being pinned right now. Okay, the groom. The background, again, is just overpowering for me. Like, the background does... So, here's a couple things. Notice how, if Nicole's watching this, look at the chin. We have no definition in the chin and in the jawline. It's because the light's coming from the right side, yet he's looking directly in the camera and everything is lit underneath. We need to pull that chin, turn the chin into the light. That's going to define the jawline and then create directional lighting on him. It's also going to fill this side of the face with light and get a much better look to it. And as you fill it with more light, you can actually probably brighten that up a little bit. So you can actually darken down the image so the background falls down a little bit more. Because right now we're worried about preserving shadows on this side. We could expose it for the highlights, darken everything else down, try and get him a little bit brighter. Right now the background is a little bit too bright. He's a little bit, doesn't have enough light on him, and we can't pull him anymore because of the shadows. So just watch the angles. Crop though I don't mind too much. It's a little bit in between, but it's not as bad as going at his waist. This had the potential to be a really, really cool shot, but direct flash was used basically, and what you can see is a shadow going straight across his face. We lose all shape and direction of light. So I don't think this was an actual on-camera flash. I think what was happening is that the flashes that were placed, this is probably water down below. What you can do is hold the flash out on a boomstick out and across and light across the group into their faces and shoot from this side so you have off-camera light. That's important for this because with that flat lighting, it makes it look more soft and more feminine and not like the guys should, which is with shadow and with masculinity. So think about that. Okay, another shot by Nicole. Again, I love the creativity in the posing here. This looks really good. I love the exposure. Like, the exposure is rock solid. I mean, f14, 1/200 of a second, ISO 100. We have this beautiful blue kind of dark shot. For me, it's the light direction in the shot that kills it. The light direction here is just not interesting. We lose the shadows on the face. In addition, you're casting shadows onto his face, and it looks awkward. We're casting his shadow onto this side. What again would be a great way to do this is, it looks like you've set up a cross lighting. Like, cross lighting is one flash on this side, one flash on this side, which basically equals flat lighting. It's the same thing as lighting directly on, because you fill the shadows on this side, you fill the shadows on this side, that is flat lighting. So again, a better option for me would be to light from one side, and if you need to, do that composite, the group composite shots. We're gonna get into this into the group course when we do photographing groups and that kind of stuff. We'll do a lot of that where we teach you guys how to composite and light individually in the groups, because you can create really cool dynamic looking images with just a single hot shoe flash, or not hot shoe flash, but a single off-camera flash. So that kind of kills this a little bit for me. Same thing here, light direction is not good enough. Also, the background is messy. We're at f10 and ISO 100. There's not really a reason to have this be so in focus. Like, I don't need to see these umbrellas. I'd love to see the boats and everything in the background, but you know what? I can tell what it is if it were shot at f2 or f2.8, and I'd get better separation. Get direction of light onto his face. So boom, a flash out to this side and light with the direction of sun, so that way you can keep shadow in the image. We need to keep shadows, keep shadows, keep shadows. I'm gonna bang this guy into your heads. Also, an ND filter in this case would enable you to shoot wide open apertures with full flash power. Otherwise, pop into high-speed sync, bring the flash in close, take two shots, one with the flash, one without, and then remove the flash out of the shot by just a simple composite. Okay, Andrew shot. So decent, looks like a bathroom shot. Again, I'd love to see, like, you know, more creativity, because it feels like a little bit of a static kind of shot. I like the expressions and I like what's going on over here, but close the bathroom door. Like, we don't need this door to be open. Close it up. Light switch, you can easily compose this out by going to the left a little bit more. If you can move to the left a little more and get more of their bodies in frame, you can block out this light switch. So look to the backgrounds. This is a great shot. I love the composition. I love the foreground element. I love the, like, the light's good and everything. If you're posing it, I might do, after you get the natural journalistic shot, like just in the moment, say, hey, brother, just look down to the left. So make him look down to the side where the light's coming from, and you'll get a great light right on his face, and you'll fill in the shadow right there and keep the other side of his face in the shadow. It'll look really great. Really nice portrait. I dig this. Again, we could have turned on that background light for a little bit of ambient light. Would have looked great, but I still like this shot as is. I like this shot. I like the pose. It doesn't feel like he's diminished. It still feels good. It feels like, you know, it's just a good pose. We don't, like, it helps. The only thing I would probably do is just straighten up his back, because I see a little bit of curvature in the back. So kind of straighten up the back, make him sit up a little bit taller, so he's not kind of slouching over a little bit. But I like it. Probably bring the chin down a little bit too, because you'll notice that what's happening is with his head tipped back and his shoulders slouching, we're not getting a good defined neck. Okay, so make him stand up straight, bring the chin down a little bit so we get a defined jawline, and then you have a really great shot right there. I don't mind the mirroring too much. The duplication of the shot is okay. It'd be ideal if the hands were doing something a little bit different as opposed to like just, you know, fist and fist, but it's not a big deal because we don't really see a symmetrical view of the body. Okay, a little bit too plain for me. Also watch these shadows. It looks like you're adding flash, and I can see flash shadows coming off the trees. And by the way, guys, I'm obviously selecting images from our team that need critiquing. So just FYI. I don't want our shooters to be like, Pi picked like our worst photographs. These are photographs that we took a long time ago. No, these are images that can use critique. They have great stuff. It's just I'm picking ones that should be critiqued. So this is a cross lighting setup. We can see the shadow coming off the left and coming off the right. Again, I don't like this look. I know it's a safe, we teach our shooters this because it's safe. You can't really go wrong. You get a good looking shot. It's just boring. To me, not having shadows in a shot is boring. So as soon as we can, we like to get them off of this. Also, I'm not a big fan of the like kind of stadium cross lighting going out on each side. I'm not a big fan of the shadows that are being cast on the sides. The posing is overall pretty decent. It's a good formal pose. I would watch to make sure, like, looks like he's turned in too much. So make sure that you can see about the same amount of chest on each person. Like, look at this guy. Good, 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 good. Oh, turned in too much. We don't see enough of him. So turn him out. You can easily see that by looking at their feet position. So look at the way that their feet are posed, and if their feet are posed inwards versus kind of going at an angle like this guy's, you know that we're not seeing enough chest. So just kind of make those adjustments. Also, by the way, make sure he's actually looking at the camera. Look at him. Where's he looking? Where's that dude looking? Look at this guy. Where's this dude looking? Get their attention. Tell them where to look into the camera. Okay. I like the attempt here. Arm. This is awkward. This angle and this position of the arm is awkward. It doesn't feel right. If you're going to do that, it probably needs to be at the right angle because you don't generally hold on to your collar like this. You hold on like this. So that's a pose that generally is going to be a right angle pose, and that's fine. It's what that shot is. This doesn't feel quite right. Okay. The shadow also going across the nose right here is a little bit too dramatic, a little bit too much for me. I would have brought the chin. Look at how we have no jawline. Okay. Oh, I just like added a nice little beard. Turn his chin. Get the chin into light so you have a jawline. Okay. It's just a shot in the limo. I probably wouldn't deliver this. Let's see. It looks like this dude's head is actually on this girl's body. That's kind of weird. What I'll often do with limousines is I will take a handheld flash that's on my, like I'll have a radio trigger and I'll just hold it off camera because it's a tight enough space. You can just hold it off camera and aim it at somebody. And that way you get a directional light and you can pin the light to wherever you want it. Right now, he's so bright. The right side of the frame is so bright versus where you're actually shooting right now. Also, there's not a whole lot of this shot that I would actually want to keep. It doesn't feel like we're in action. It doesn't feel like a deliverable photograph to me. There's not any good action happening that I would want to keep in it. This is Chris. This is a great shot. I love this. I love the look. I love the expression. I love the lean forward. Everything about this is really solid. Another really good one. I like that the spacing, I might do a little more spacing on this side, but it looks great. I love that we can see the profile of the face. Might turn the face a little bit more, but this looks awesome. We can see the legs. We can see everything. One thing that we don't want to do is we don't want the legs or the arms to be so in that they block all light because then you can't see form between them. So really nice. Okay, Michelle Ford is a really nice detail shot. I like that a lot. This is Michelle Ford again. It's a good shot. The only thing here is there's a couple issues I'm noticing. He's partly in shade right here, which is a little bit of an issue. I also noticed that there's too much space right here. Like everywhere else, there's good space and overlap, but right here, there's no overlap and there's kind of too much space. So I pull this guy out a little bit more to kind of create that same overlap. Make the adjustment for this guy. Otherwise, it's a really great environmental portrait of the guys and kind of them in front of this really cool United States. I think this is at Nixon Library, so really cool. Kind of dig this. I like this little shot as a posed walking shot. It looks cool. I like really most of the things about it, except the expressions are a little bit off. So this guy looks serious. This guy looks kind of like in between. And what I would say is there probably should be a little more guidance from the photographer in telling them what the shot is about or what you're going for. So everybody's kind of doing something a little bit similar. So we have a smile, we have a laugh, a serious, and a semi-serious. So make the adjustment and give them a little bit of guidance so you kind of get the right shot. But the posing is good, everything else about it is good. This is a good groomsman shot together. I like that he's a little bit brighter than everybody else. The angles of the flash puts a big shadow on this side of the wall, and because the shadow is not really part of the composition, I'd probably crop it out. So get that out by going with a little bit of a tighter crop. Stand back a little bit further if you need to. Also, if we're going to be shooting with them looking at the camera, close down that aperture, baby. Close it down so you can get them in detail. Otherwise, have them look at each other and talk to each other like we discussed before. This is also one of those poopy rooms that has that kind of old 70s wood and just not good color to begin with, and I would probably just go with something like a vivid black and white for this shot. Okay, you'll notice that with that look, it has a really cool look to it, very kind of strong and masculine look. And if you want to tone it back, just go to the standard import black and white, which is just a kind of softer version of that black and white. Has a really great look to it, and I like that it nixes a lot of the not so great color. It nixes it like Nixon. That's funny. That's funny. This is one of those cases of not so great room, pin light. That pin lighting technique and darkening down the room by 2 stops maybe, not so the room is blacked out, but so everything's darker with him highlighted and standing out of the room. That is exactly what should be done here. Put a grid on it so that you can light just his face and make him stand out. In fact, what would be really cool is because the Nixon photograph in the background is lit up, if you were to brighten him up just barely brighter than the Nixon photograph, leave the Nixon photograph still visible with that light on it while everything else is darker, oh my gosh, that would be a really cool photograph for this scene. You can even incorporate reflections from here. So I think there's a lot of artistic creativity here that could have been used. I like this shot a lot. I probably would have turned the left shoulder in more. This is an example of his pose is diminishing him a little bit because we don't see the other side of his body. We see a little bit. Makes him look like he's losing presence. So turn the left shoulder back a little bit so that left shoulder is coming forward a little bit more so we can see the other side of his suit jacket, see more of the hand, and we'll get a stronger kind of shot. But I like the direction. I like where it's going. We've got just a few more. So this shot is good. One thing I would note is that if I were the groom, and one thing we tell all of our people as they're coming up is that if you're the groom or the bride, you're gonna get a lot of shots of you already. So if somebody's hugging you or somebody's like, if someone's hugging the groom or they're interacting with the groom, I would try and focus on that person's expression versus the groom or the bride's expression, because you're already gonna get tons of those. I would want, as the bride or groom, I'd wanna see my guests, my VIPs, I wanna see their expressions and stuff. So I'd flip around to the other side. His expression is more important here than his, and also his face is blocked by the shoulder anyway. So flip to the other side, you'll get a really nice shot. Here, mom, it looks like mom is helping out with son. This is fine to get one of these shots like this, but I like to pose, when I do these types of shots, I like to pose in a way that I can see their faces. I want to be able to see each individual. And I'll give you guys an example of that in just a second. Same thing here, it's a nice little kiss on the cheek, but we can't really tell who this is. This could be, obviously he's gonna know if it's mom or an aunt, but we can't really see from her face, and I would have loved to have seen that. This is great. This is exactly kind of what I mean, where you can see exactly what's going on and who's doing what. The only issue is that her hand is moving so quick right here, there's a little bit of blur on it, even at 1/2 of a second. So probably just take a couple shots and make sure that you have some that are kind of in action, but not with this motion blur, as it's kind of a little bit distracting. Also, I would kind of work on expressions and help them to be in I'll show you exactly what I do for these types of shots that look a little bit more polished. I like this. Of these two, we would probably only deliver actually one. So don't deliver both of these. Pick the best one. This is probably the best one with mom pressing her cheek against his. Again, I feel like there doesn't need to be using flash in these kind of scenes. Like, incorporate natural light. There's a great wall over here. Like this wall, you could place them right here and shoot towards the wall and have a really beautiful background. I'm gonna show you guys exactly what that would look like. So let me show you guys what I would do in those kind of situations. I'm gonna go ahead and let's pull up Chrome. I'm gonna jump on the Lynn and Jersa site. Okay, and we're just gonna go look at some recent stuff. So let's look. Oh, you know what? I don't think those have been posted quite yet. You know what? This one I think has a shot in there. I remember so I do these with mom and dad all the time. So notice this shot. So this is, again, I think this is one of our case study shots in Photographing the Bride, which is coming up. So be sure to check that out too. But what I did here was I placed her in the brightest spot with that window light coming in naturally onto her. And then I placed everyone in the family around her. And you'll notice that they're a little bit darker than she is. But the beautiful thing about this is that once everyone's placed, I can see all their faces. It looks great. Then I just cue the action. I just say, my dear, read the card. I just want you to read the card out loud if that's cool. And she just read this card out loud. And these are all the natural expressions that are just occurring in the moment. So this is kind of what we talk about as far as like posed photojournalism goes, is that we're setting them up in a scene, but then cueing the action in a way that looks natural and realistic. We can see faces, we can see what's going on. There's another one of these shots too I want to show. For a lot of the day, this stuff is going to happen naturally. For some of the day, you're going to have to set it up on your own. Let's see, there was another shot, maybe it's earlier. Yeah, right here. This is me putting them in good light. I can see Dad, I can see her face. And then I just say, Dad, your daughter's about to get married. Is there anything that you'd like to tell her before she walks down the aisle? And then it cues this like great action. You know, one of my favorite photographers that I learned from when I first started was Jerry Guionis. And he talks about like just using simple pointers and simple phrases to literally state what's going on. And that's enough to set people in the mindset to do these types of things naturally. So, okay, let me show you guys another one. Show you guys, I remember Lawrence and Shannon. Let's pull up this guy. Okay, so same thing here. We're placing them in a good scene on the sofa. We have this nice natural light coming in, a good background. We're cleaning things up, and then we're cueing the action. So it looks like these things are happening just kind of completely on their own, but they're not. They're helped. They're staged a little bit. So again, this part, mom and dad helping them to get ready. We can see their faces. We can see everybody doing all these different things. Look at this one. So mom and dad, she tells me in our initial meeting the most important thing to me, and I always ask people, what is the most important thing to you? For her, it's family. Okay, well, that's in my notes. So right during prep, I say, mom and dad, as they finish like helping her to get ready right here, I incorporate them into preparation, which we talked about, right? Right here, I say, mom and dad, step into her. And mom, why don't you hold her arm? Dad, why don't you hold your wife's shoulder? They do that. And then I say, now, I know this because I'm rooted deeply in the Chinese culture. My family is Chinese. I speak Chinese and Cantonese. I know that saying sweet things to your daughter or something like that is not too common for Chinese culture type stuff. So in this moment, it's just, mom, does your daughter not look beautiful? Smile at your daughter. So knowing the culture, I'm not asking her to like say something sweet and sappy because that's just not what they do. I'm saying something a little more simple. But these are the moments that we get where we can see all their faces. And when you compare that to this is what we're looking for our third shooters and our second shooters that want to become leads and they want to become masters. We're looking for them to create these types of images and these moments as opposed to images that are kind of just a little bit on the average side, which is what this is right here. This is a little bit better, but again, the production value here is far higher. So hopefully that gives you guys an idea in terms of what we're looking for, what we're seeing in these different images as we've gone through this little critique. Hope you all enjoyed. Last section is post-production. Enjoy that, and I'll see you guys later.